when it comes to making more profits, are we in agreement, and you can just nod your heads and give a thumbs up, that marketing may need to be an important element for getting more customers? Will that make sense, right? And show of hands, who loves marketing in the room apart from our friend over there? Yeah? A handful of you. Maybe you can count in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 or 7 people out of 28. So it kind of suggests that marketing isn't something a lot of people like to do. Often when we think about it, one of the reasons people maybe not enjoy marketing is the results often aren't as great as they'd like them to be, putting in tons of energy and effort, but not getting the right results. Or it costs a lot of money and not getting an ROI. But the list is endless. So if you need a great marketer, we've got a wonderful friend in the team that can absolutely support you with doing that at the back of there. I forgot your name again. Sorry, what was your name? Tina. Speak to Tina if you want some marketing help and advice. But often what happens when I'm working with businesses and think, right, this quarter, let's make more money. And we think, right, okay, to make more money, let's do more marketing. The first thing people do is they jump to step number 5. And you're probably thinking, Amit, what do you mean by step number 5? Well, here it is. Step number 5 is often people jump to the how. Right, let's go and do 3 social media posts a day. Who's heard of that? Let's go and do loads of social media posts a day, yeah? So we all hear that, and often that creates a bit of butterflies in many people's stomach, mine included. I've got plenty of butterflies in there. But we often think social media is TikTok and Instagram and leafleting the whole place till it's nice and messy. We always think of that. And that's what a lot of people think about. Think, right, let's go and do a speaking gig over there, blah, blah, blah. And that works. It often does work. But it often works with returns that are not going to be as high as maybe what they could be. Because often we have missed out steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what I'd like to do is maybe fill the gaps in what those first 4 steps are. And hopefully, with this framework in mind, you can use a simple framework to think, right, what can you do over the next 90 days to help bring it to life and turn it into something that's tangible to help you go and get results? Would that be okay for the next 15 minutes or so? Yeah? Awesome. So rather than stopping or starting at the how, one thing to consider is to think about the who. So as an example, many years ago, I worked with a business. They had a really good barbershop in Harrow. Paul's Barber in Harrow, North Harrow, doing really well, lots of customers, but naturally wanted to go from good to great. And he said, Amit, right, let's get more customers in. We've got to get more men's hair. We want to be cutting more men's hair. So I said, fine. So who's your target audience? He said, men. I said, fantastic, but how many men do you have in Harrow? There's hundreds of thousands of men. Can you fit them all into your shop with 4 seats in there? He goes, no, I can't. So I said, so who's your target audience? And so we did a brainstorm. And we thought, right, who should be his target audience? After about thinking, considering, etc., we thought, right, he likes to work with people or men who are high spenders. They're going to give him lots of money, do all the funky haircuts and hairstyles. They can charge as add-ons, etc., etc. So the question for us to think about is, who is your target audience? Because often when we try to go for everyone, we may be failing the attempt and maybe not achieve everyone. Often what's really important in marketing, as Tina may agree, is we've got to get very specific on our target audience. So with Paul, we thought, right, who are the people that like to spend the most money for you? He said, right, typically they're between the age of 18 and 30. Typically, they're men who like to spend money on their looks. Typically, they're men who are out on a Friday and Saturday night. So those are our target audience. So we thought, right, we've got our who's he after? The next question was, right, let's go and grab them. Where do we get men who are highly sociable, spend money on their looks, go out every Friday night? And we thought, right, they're going to be on social media somewhere. Do we need to pepper the whole of Google and Facebook and TikTok with loads and loads of different adverts? And we thought, yeah, we could do that. But also, where can we find your target audience in the highest of concentration? So we did more brainstorming, searching, thinking. There was no ChatGPT back then, but we did more Googling. And what we found was, hey, look, we can find those target audiences in gyms. And from where it was located, there were 8 gyms in the 3-mile radius. So to the right, you get lots of young men who are highly outgoing, who like to spend money in the looks, in gyms. So would it be a good idea if we marketed in the gyms? So the question to you is to think about, who is it that you want to attract, and get very clear on them. Because when you're very clear on them, we can then identify where you can find them in the highest of concentrations, whether it's somewhere online, whether it's in person, etc., etc. Does that sound reasonable so far? The next step is to think about, right, so Paul and his team of 4 cut men's hair for that target audience. The next thing we thought about was, right, what problem do you solve, Paul? He said, well, isn't it obvious? We're barbers, we cut hair. So what is he selling? He said, I'm selling haircuts. Well, he asked me these silly questions. So I said, fine, so do people actually come into your store for a 30-minute session of seeing the hair fly around? And that's what you're selling? He goes, no, that's not what I'm selling. I said, what are you really selling? He said, well, people come here to look great. And I said, why? Why do they really want to look great? They want to look great because they want to go out on a Friday, Saturday night and maybe attract that lady that they've got a crush on. Maybe they want to look great for the interview they're going to later on. So I said, Paul, so what are you really selling? He goes, do you know what? I'm not selling haircuts. I'm selling confidence. Brilliant. So what's worth more, a 30-minute haircut or the confidence you're giving your people for the next 3 weeks? He goes, do you know what? It's actually confidence. So we thought, right, now we're clear on what we're selling, we could think about including that verbiage in our marketing. This is Paul's Barber. We do skin fade, crew cut, blah, 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 blah. No, somewhere in your marketing is going to say what you really do for the people you want to attract. So what happened to the advert? He thought, right, rather than creating a big list of haircuts he does and whacking in every gym, he thought, right, we created a picture of a young man leaving the gym, and the verbiage was something along the lines of, I think it was something lines of, had a great workout, go and have a fabulous weekend. So people leaving the gym on a Friday night thinking, right, I've had a great workout and look fabulous this weekend. I'm going to go to Paul's Barber because he'll make me look fabulous this weekend. So 7 of those adverts printed out. One was a private gym, David Lloyd, they don't allow that kind of stuff. But all the other private gyms printed out one poster like this, a couple of banners, a few hundred quid, whack them in there. It was really helpful to him. So think about what can you do to stand out and attract your target audience. So that's the what. Think about what problem you really solve. Initially think about, right, I solve this problem over here. But ask yourself, so what? Yes, I give haircuts, so what? So haircuts make people look great, so what? When people look great, they feel great. Oh, okay, now we're hitting an emotional side of marketing. And that's where the money lies. So ask yourself, what emotional tugs does your marketing do? If it's none, maybe we need to tweak some wording to make that happen. Does that sound reasonable or usable for you guys so far? Amazing. Once we've got the what sorted out, I guess we all know there's a bit of a pattern going on over here. We're going to think about the why. Now, on that very same high street in North Harrow, there are about 4 to 5 other men's hairdressers or barbers. There's probably more right now because there's loads of them right these days, but there was many more. So the question then is why? Why should people go to Paul's than any of the other ones? And maybe a similar question goes into your mind, thinking, why should somebody come to our business when there's people that do exactly the same, probably in the same room, on the same street, or the same postcode? Why would they come to you? And often when I ask him, Paul, I said, so why should people come to you? He said, well, we've been around for 44 years. My father owned a shop and I own it and stuff. And we go over and above and give exemplary customer service. I said, hey, look, Paul, you're saying this, but do they know this? See, they won't know that you've been given amazing service until they tried your service. So what do you need to do and say to go over that hurdle? Because we can all say we go over and above. We can all say we've been around for this many years, but it means nothing to the customer unless they've actually tried your service and believe in it. Would that make sense? So all those things typically don't really help us stand out. So over here, we could think about a USP and think, right, what could you really be doing and saying in your marketing that actually makes you stand out and actually makes you look great? So a construction company that I'm working with right now, we came up with a USP with them. And it's called Polar Build. And one thing which we thought about was, hey, look, what are the top 5 frustrations people have with construction companies? And he goes, hey, look, one of the things that really annoy our potential customers is they feel that we never complete jobs on time. I was like, yeah, that's probably true. No construction company finishes jobs on time. And they leave a massive mess. They leave a massive mess by the end of the day. And so we've got all this cleaning up to do every day for our little kids who are running around. Also, they say one thing and do another. That's another frustration people have with construction companies. Also, they the workmanship could be questionable. It looks pretty and wonderful while it's painted, but after 6 months, maybe the plasterboard starts crumbling, etc., etc. And also, they're known to be using profanity as well. So he goes to me, Amit, all these frustrations that all the customers have, and that's what I'm competing on a daily basis. So they're right. If those are the frustrations your customers have, how can you create a USP that differentiates you from your customers? And he goes, right. Well, we did a lot of brainstorming, used like a process of coming up with a USP. And the USP was this. He guaranteed businesses and said, right, I'm going to give you 5 promises. And if we don't meet these 5 promises, we'll give you 25% off from your entire bill. The first promise is that we'll always turn up on time and always leave on time every single day. Promise number 1. The second promise he gave was, we will always clean up our mess every single day before we leave. Number 3, we'll always finish the work on time. Number 4, after 6 months, we'll come and do an actual check of what's actually happening and make sure the quality is fine. And if it's not fine, we'll come and fix it for you. Number 6 was, let's lose the count. Number 6 was, we will never swear on site around women and children. And we threw in a 6th year guarantee as well. The 6th one was, as builders, we'll always be dungarees. Because typically when we bend over, a butt crack show, so we want to avoid this. Just as a bit of humor. And that was achieved over here as well. So the point to think about is your businesses. What unique selling point can you have, or what guarantees can you create to allow your prospects not to have that level of skepticism for you? Because when we get very clear on who we're after, where we can find them, what problems we're solving, why should they come to us, the how actually becomes very easy. We've created fantastic understanding of our target audience. We can now think, how should we advertise this? And he thought, do you know what? We just print a bunch of A1 signs, stick them in gyms. And if they say you got to be a member, we'll become a member. It's only 20, 30 quid. So he was a member of quite a few gyms. He never used to go. But it worked for him. So what I offer you to do is, on your tables, you've got some paper and pen. Blue pens or little pads, you've got plenty of paper and pen. Grab something that's going to be writable and maybe divide the page up into 5 and write down these words: who, where, what, why, and how. And maybe what I propose is just spend 5 minutes kicking off a very important exercise and asking yourself, right, for the remaining quarter of the year, who should be your target audience? And maybe describe them in about 2 or 3 sentences. But get very clear. Which clients or which prospects are going to give you the highest profit margin? Then think about where can you find them in the highest of concentrations? Sometimes it's like, hey, look, if in the roofing business, you guys want to work on, say, hotels, because hotels are everywhere. I want to focus on hotels in Gerrard's Cross, lovely area. But it could be a case of thinking, right, rather than where can I find them, who can introduce me to them as well? Who can introduce you to your target audience? Who's that golden goose? Write down the what. What problem are you actually solving? And typically think of the emotional side. The why, what kind of USP can you create? And the how, what should your advert actually say? Like his was, want to look great this Friday night? Come to Paul's Barbers. Because most people finishing the gym, typically his target audiences, wanted to look great on a Friday night.